Even 70 years on, the killing of Emmett Till remains among the most infamous murders of all time. Jim Axelrod takes us back to Mississippi and the scene of the crime.
If you know where to look in the Mississippi Delta, you can find markers of what a culture has spent decades trying to erase. This plaque at the Tallahatchie River, replaced every now and then when it's been riddled with bullets, marks the spot where young Emmett Till's brutally beaten body was pulled from the water. A cotton gin fan wrapped around his neck, secured with barbed wire. The country store where Till whistled at a white woman, this 14-year-old boy's capital offense, is being reclaimed by nature, soon to disappear entirely.
In the vines growing over it, it is the perfect reflection of the erasure and of the attempt to pretend like none of this happened.
But at the very spot where this lynching unfolded nearly 70 years ago, nothing. Every day, people drive by this barn just outside Drew, Mississippi, with no idea what they're passing.
It's just a barn sitting on a farm in the absolute middle of nowhere.
But the worst thing imaginable happened inside there.
And I think that's the point.
In his new book, The Barn, author Wright Thompson, also a fifth-generation Mississippi Delta cotton farmer,
most of the monuments around the state were built,
examines what he calls evil, hiding in plain sight.
And like almost every person in Mississippi or even in America, I didn't know about the barn. If I didn't know something that essential about the place that I think I know best in the world, then something was deeply, fundamentally wrong.
Mississippi in the summer of 1955, when Emmett Till visited relatives, was a different world for this kid from Chicago. Unfamiliar with the ways of the Delta, he had no idea the price to pay for aiming his whistle at the woman working at the store.
He whistled at sundown on Wednesday and got taken at 2:30 a.m. on Sunday.
An 18-year-old sharecropper named Willie Reed was out walking by the barn when a truck turned in. He hid, while the woman's husband and brother-in-law, who'd snatched Till from his bed, dragged him into the barn.
And he heard screams, turned to whimpers, turned to silence. And then he went home. And everybody in his life said, "Don't say anything. Don't you say anything."
Instead, Reed summoned all his courage and walked into this courtroom to accuse two white men, J.W. Milam and Roy Bryant, of murder. Reed's widow, Juliet.
Everyone is telling him to keep his mouth shut.
That's what they told him.
Why couldn't he do that? Why did he have to talk?
I guess it was just something about Willie that he wanted to do right.
While the open casket Till's mother, Mamie, insisted upon sparked outrage that fueled the civil rights movement. Without Willie Reed's bravery, no one would have ever been charged.
It was all white jury, and the jury was laughing while he was testifying.
Bryant and Milam were acquitted. Willie Reed would have to flee to Chicago and change his name.
Everything's so bright on your wedding day, right? Like,
Yeah.
He remained haunted until the day he died.
The screaming and the hollering and hearing somebody be beat to death.
He never had a peaceful day for the rest of his life.
I don't think he never really did.
And you think about his suffering.
Yes. Yeah, I do.
Everybody who did the right thing in this case had their lives deeply affected, if not ruined. And the people who did the worst of it walked away free.
That injustice is what Thompson says needs illumination, here in the Delta, where the instinct's always been to keep it shrouded.
And he was killed right about 4 or 5 miles from here, and people in Drew don't even know. It's like the past was being erased.
In 1965, Gloria Dickerson integrated the schools in Drew.
That's me right there, surrounded by all the white kids.
Schools that made no mention of Till's death when she was growing up, and still only merits 117 words, one paragraph, in the Mississippi history textbook used today.
How can that be? How can that not be the first thing kids learn?
In Mississippi, they're not going to learn about what happened to Emmett Till. Separate but equal.
She combats that erasure through a program to teach kids in Drew today the history her parents made sure she learned as a child.
And when we would pass that barn, my mom would say, that is where Emmett Till was killed.
But you want the experience you had as a kid. You want that to be the experience of every kid in Mississippi.
Every kid, every kid. The blacks need it, and the whites need it too.
And we are profoundly sorry.
While Tallahatchie County apologized to the Till family in 2007, and a statue was unveiled in 2022, the legacy of silence remains powerful here.
You're in your 60s when you first go to the barn.
I didn't know anything about the barn.
Reverend Willie Williams' first visit to the barn was 2 years ago, and he helps run a nonprofit dedicated to Till's memory.
I'm in high school when I found out this is the store where Emmett whistled at a white lady. And I grew up in the Delta.
Not talking about what happened in the store, not talking about the barn. Was that an attempt to erase?
Erase. I think so. Sure it was.
And that right there is the barn.
This is where the paradox hits hardest. The ordinary building so many see, concealing extraordinary evil no one knows.
Come in.
Oh,
Yeah, I mean, that's the only appropriate reaction.
the barn, owned by a man who let us visit but didn't want to talk, and who's negotiating to sell it to Reverend Williams' nonprofit. Here, where Emmett Till was lynched, you'll find the most mundane items of everyday life.
Knowing what happened here, and it's such horror. And there's an outboard motor. Could you have something more ordinary?
Driftwood from the river. You have those are Christmas decorations. That's a cross. That's an angel.
And that, says Wright Thompson, is why he's dug so deep. So if the erasure continues, no one can say, we didn't know.
It's the not knowing that we're combating. It's the not knowing. I mean, silence and erasure are just different words for the same thing.